Hey there everyone, welcome back to another Game Vault video. As always, I'm Captain Beefy with the Game Vault. We're going to talk about the game that keeps on giving, and that is Concord. Sony's huge, massive failure that lasted barely 2 weeks after its release before it was pulled back and all the money was refunded to it. So let's cue the music and we'll get right into it. All right, I got two things to talk about today. Both of them are rumors, so take them with a grain of salt. First rumor is that Concord developer or game director Ryan Ellis steps down after the game's abysmal failure. Ellis announced that the game would shutter in a PlayStation blog post at the beginning of September. And he talked about how, while many qualities of the experience resonated with players, we also recognized that other aspects of the game and our initial launch didn't land the way we'd intended. He then declared, therefore, we have decided to take the game offline beginning September 6, 2024, and explore options, including those that will better reach our players. While we determine the best path ahead, Concord sales will cease immediately, and we will begin to offer a full refund for all gamers who have purchased the game for PS5 or PC. Now, this isn't something that Sony does lightly. They don't like to give money back, so that is amazing. And I mean, look at these characters. Look at this. What is this thing? Zero personality. A pink android robot looking creature, whatever. Named Kips, I guess. I guess those are the pronouns in Spanish. And then here we have the old Asian lady, Duchess, Ranger, she, her. It's just some of the worst character designs we've seen have been in the game. There's Lizzo with her tank outfit. Yeah. There she is. Absolutely awful. Anyway, let's get back to this story a little bit. A new rumor from Kotaku's Ethan Gotch claims that Ellis has stepped down from his position as the game director. And, well, there's no game to direct, so anyway. Gotch wrote, Ryan Ellis told staff at Firewalk last week that he would be stepping down from his game director role and move into a support role instead, according to 3 sources familiar with the change. And, yeah, like I said, there's no surprise, given it's quite difficult to be a game director when you do not have a game to direct. Aside from the rumor that Ellis has stepped as game director, Gouch claimed 3 sources inside Firewalk Studio informed him that they are pessimistic about Concord returning. At least one of them allegedly informed him that they have been asked to explore pitches for something completely different than Concord. I'll stop right here for a second. I don't think there is any way you can save this game at this time. I just don't see it, right? This game was reviled when it was announced. People saw the trailers for it and were like, what? This is awful. This is horrifying and all that. When the rumors came out about the pronouns in it, it got even worse. People started mocking it because of that, myself included. And rightfully so. That crap has no reason to be in these games. And, people argue against it all the time. Well, why do you care? Why do you care about this? Why do you care about that? Why do you care the new Dragon Age has top surgery scars and all that? I care because it's just like, this is stuff that's being wasted on these games. This is money and resources being wasted on games. That at this time, money and effort could have been spent doing something else to the game. You might have a good game. That's one of the reasons for it. Another reason is it's pandering to a percentage of the human population. A very loud, very annoying group of people, but still a very small group of people overall. Okay? Nobody gives a shit about your pronouns. Quite honestly, outside of that small circle of idiots that use pronouns, nobody gives a shit. I will never use somebody's pronouns that they ask me to use. Not because because I'm mean, but also because I have zero respect for you if you ask for that. Okay, that is something to me that is like, yeah, no, sorry, not happening. I'm sorry. But I'm a they, them. I don't care. There's only one of you. You're not a they, them, man. Anyway, he also indicated that there is uncertainty as to what happens to the studio moving forward. While some may have been asked to pitch new projects, others are speculating they might get moved to other studios or layoffs are around the corner. And this information is not new. Amanda Kiefer previously revealed that employees were terrified of the future. We talked about this in another video. But yeah, they should be scared, and they should be scrambling, updating their resumes, and looking for new jobs with other studios at this point. It's quite possible Firewalk Studios gets the Bungie treatment, where Bungie laid off a bunch of people. move some people around and all that. Who knows? I don't know. But, yeah, step down, bro. You led a abortion of a game, man. This is the worst thing to happen to gaming since ET, I think. Absolutely awful. And you got to be ashamed of yourself, bro. You got to leave the company. Maybe leave gaming altogether and go do something else. Go work for Kotaku or something. It seems like you'd be a real good fit there. But that's not the only rumor I want to talk about today, because this one on top of it just compounds things and makes it worse. And that is the rumor that Concord actually cost $400 million to develop, not the 1 to 200 that I keep saying. 400, and that does not include the cost of buying the developer Firewalk Studios that Sony paid out. This is a rumor from Colin Moriarty, the host of Sacred Symbols, claiming that Firewalk Studios Concord, which was shut down again 2 weeks after it was released, cost $400 million to develop. 8 years, $400 million for this. We don't even know what that is. Look at that thing. Moriarty detailed in a video uploaded to X that he spoke extensively with a Concord insider who told him that Concord cost about $400 million to make. He went on to reveal that Probably Monsters, the original owner of Firewalk Studios and Concord before selling to PlayStation Studios, Sony, and the game's original investors had spent $200 million on the game even before it made it to its alpha state. There's 200 right off the bat. Moriarty said up to the point of the game went to alpha state, they had already spent $200 million on it, and it's unclear how much of that money is from Probably Monsters and the original investors into the game and how much was from Sony. Next, he shared when the game had $200 million spent on it and was basically in the alpha form in the first quarter of 2023. From that point until the game launched, Sony spent another $200 million on it. $200 million in a year. And they gave us a game that was just absolute garbage. Now, there's a lot of reasons for this game to fail. And, I talk a lot. I focus on the woke aspect of the games and all that. And I'm sure that definitely had a factor in it. As it's not a game I would play. First off, okay? I'm not into those 4v4, 5v5 hero shooter games, the online, To me, they're just like, it's the same crap over and over again. But people like it, so boom. But there's better games out there that exist. There's better games that are out there that have been there for a while, that have really nice character designs to them, better mechanics, weapons, skins, all this fun stuff to do it. They're free. They don't cost $40 a pop, although I don't think that $40 was the main reason it failed. I just think the game was terrible. I think the characters were ugly. People didn't like them. And from what I heard, the gameplay itself was mediocre, and the maps weren't that fun, and there wasn't enough variety in how to play the game, I guess, in different types of matches and different maps and all that. So it had a lot going against it, and it just $400 million, 8 years. That's what they gave us. I'd fire everybody, man. I would fire everybody. I'd shut the studio down and just write it off as a loss and be like, you know what, guys, we learned something today. We're not doing live service games anymore. Anyway, the scuttlebutt behind the scenes about Concord is the game was in laughable shape when it was shown, basically when the alpha was ready to go. It was in such horrible shape that Sony felt it needed to spend that much money again, so 200 plus 200 to get the game to the MVP status. Not the status of being a great game, just to get it to viability. MVP, minimum viable product. I guess that is the bar in which you measure a game that is able to be released, like it will work. I mean, that's a terrible end game goal. I'm sure it wasn't their goal to get it to that, but maybe at that point they had invested so much time and money, they're like, you know what, let's just get it out there and we'll patch fix it. We'll put it together and fix it up later on. A major expense was to urgently outsource much of the game to other studios to finish building the game out, and that two fundamental games were not worked on at all up until that point in which the game was shown in alpha. Onboarding, nothing about that. There was nothing about how players made their character, all that kind of stuff to choose their character and get there, and monetization. Two very expensive, very specific boutique things that happen in games like this. Yeah, that's bad. Later in the video, Moriarty claimed that the executives at Sony and specifically PlayStation Studios boss Herman Hulst were championing the game and believed the game could be their Star Wars. Well, it was their Star Wars, but it wasn't a New Hope Star Wars. This was the Alkalite Star Wars. This was the toxic, garbage, toilet water, Star Wars. Oh my god. He noted that at Sony they were describing the game as the future of PlayStation, that they had such major ambition for this game that it was referred to internally as a Star Wars project for Sony. Are they nuts? That it can be repeatedly revisited over and over again, not only in cross-media, but in what we were seeing. He pointed to the game being featured in Prime Video's upcoming Secret Level show, as well as the weekly story vignettes that developers promised. So, for those of you who don't know, Prime Video has a show coming out, Secret Levels, and it features a lot of, like, one-ofs. I guess they're animated, probably video game animation, from different games that Sony puts out. I think there's one for God of War in there, and I guess there's one for this, and it's going to just be included in there. And I remember they talked about the vignettes of stories they wanted to add, like, once a week or something like that, or every 2 weeks, whatever. I laughed. I was like, yeah, you guys aren't going to be around long enough to add but 2 or 3 of those, and yeah, they never made it to one. Anyway, next he shared that there was a toxic positivity vibe. You weren't allowed to say anything internally about this game, about how something was wrong with it. Character designs are not right. They really truly believed this was Herman Holst's baby, and he internally himself was a massive champion of the game. The idea that the game had a toxic positivity vibe rings true, given a source close to Probably Monsters informed that Park Place that Probably Monsters had been shaken to its core due to not only the game's failure, but to the extent that it failed. And while the company and its employees have been shaken by the failure, one thing that is not shaking them, and they're not even acknowledging, is the game's embrace of woke ideology and diversity, equity, and inclusivity, DEI. This game wouldn't have done well without all that. It might have done a little better. It might have stood a slightly better chance, but it's still... A lack of DEI wouldn't have saved this one. As much as I hate that stuff, I'm not going to sit here and lie to you and say it was DEI that killed this game. DEI was a cancer that was contributed to its death, yeah, but it wasn't the sole thing that executed this game. Man. And this toxic positivity thing, this is such a horrible thing. It's, you know, it's like the body positivity movement when fat people were being celebrated for being healthy and happy and you know, this is good, this is healthy, this is fine. No, it's not. Yeah, I'm a big guy myself. I'd love to lose weight. I don't think I am in great shape, and I certainly, you know, I'm not going to go out there and become a model for people to strive for. My God, no. You know, that's ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. You wouldn't do it to someone who was suffering from anorexia, and you know. But we do it for people that are huge, and we do it for people that are, you know, the trans community and all that, and that's just as bad for them. You know, we feed them these lies, and then they end up taking these hormones and chopping off body parts and all that, and then later on you see them and they look so miserable and they're so unhappy. Look at Ellen Page, for God's sake. You can see pictures of her smiling when she was a young woman, and now that she's this weird boy man creature thing, that she just looks miserable all the time. And it's sad. It's just absolutely terrible. Anyway, let me know what you think about all this stuff regarding Concord. I'd like to start talking about this game. It'll go away eventually. It'll go away. But I just can't help but touch on this kind of stuff. It's amazing. $400 million. Almost $500 million in almost a decade to put out a 5v5 game, hero shooter, that lasted 2 weeks on the market. Ouch. Sony, you guys can do better than that. You guys can do way better than that. Get out of this live service game garbage. Go back to what you do best. Single player games. You know, if you want to experiment once in a while, go ahead and do it, but don't make this your priority. This is not your Star Wars, okay? This is never going to be your Star Wars. I'm Captain Beefy. Thanks for joining me today. If you haven't done so, please leave a like on the video. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Ring that bell for notifications. This is what Firewalk looks like right now. Everything's on fire there. I will see you guys next time. Until then, peace.